You mean now? I thought you were going to turn it back around the other way.
No, because that's the only way I can record you. Is this way. Don't look at yourself. Alright, so I was asking about Uncle Leroy because, I didn't realize that he was married to Aunt
Wilhelmina.
Yeah, I didn't realize it. I remember him clearly here all the time. Him and Daddy together.
Yeah.
I remember. I never knew he was my real uncle. I called him Uncle Leroy, but I didn't know he was my real uncle.
Well, you do have an Uncle Leroy.
I know, but I didn't know he was my real uncle. That wasn't why. I just thought he was a family friend.
Oh no, he was your Aunt Mina's husband.
I didn't know that all those years. It took me a long time before I realized. I think it was probably within the last 3 or 4 years that I learned that. Yeah.
Well, I miss him so much because he was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I remember that too.
Because he had that country talk.
He was so funny.
Yeah.
He was real country.
Yeah, and he was a smart man. He was a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What kind of work did he do?
He worked for the gas and electric.
Oh, he did. Like didn't Uncle Yossi's work for gas and electric? No, he worked for utilities or something.
Your Uncle Billy worked for gas and electric. And he was a good husband, from what I understand. But sometimes you don't really know what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah, that's every relationship.
Because she just now getting a dryer.
Oh wow!
And I thought all the time she had a dryer, and she said no, because Leroy didn't want a dryer.
Why?
Because he said it was too much.
On the gas and electric? Because he worked for the gas and electric?
Too much bill, that's a good bill.
That's funny.
Yeah, but
so she was still hanging clothes out to dry?
Yeah, she did well. Yeah, and he really loved her when they first got married because, every holiday, birthday, he would always give her something, Yeah, and he was, loved the children and all, I would say every family needs some difficulties sometimes. Yeah, but they got along pretty good. Yeah, and then they bought the home with what she's in now. And that's absolutely correct,
I just never really knew his personality and character.
Yeah, well, he was very comical, but he was a little bit on the like his wife was a little bit on the stingy side. Careful, he was very careful.
Prudish.
Yeah.
Prudent.
What you call it?
Prudent.
Yeah, he be careful how he spend his money. And he was a church good enough. Very dedicated to his church. He first was in Washington Temple once upon a time, and then he decided to go to Jerusalem, the Baptist church over on Loch Raven.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I think he was a deacon over there, I believe.
Why did he leave Washington Temple?
Well, just sometimes people just... one thing about it, I think over in Jerusalem he had more of his black relatives over there. And I think that's the only thing that I would say. Because he had his niece over there, his first cousin. And then he served there. You can turn that off. You really can't. You got to push that knob to turn it off.
His voice is annoying. Look at it. So.
It didn't turn off.
I just turned it down.
Okay.
And he came from South Carolina as well?
Oh yeah, he's from South Carolina. But Miss Nudge Santee. I forgot now what his what you call it, the area that he lived in. He didn't live right in Georgetown, but it's in Georgetown County. And he I know he had one one niece, and she lived with them for a little while. Her name was Gloria. Yeah. And my sister, she
I wonder how she met him, like if she met him when they were teens, or was she an adult? And then they moved up here?
No, they got married up here.
Okay,
Yeah,
so she met him up here.
Yeah,
Oh.
she might have known him in Georgetown too, but
Okay.
I know they really got married up. She met him up here, and they got married up here. But she knew he was from down there also.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about Daddy? Your James Sullivan. How did you meet him?
I met him on Myrtle Beach.
Oh, you met him on the beach.
Yeah, I was working on Myrtle Beach, and he was also.
Okay.
And so in the evening, I work at a hotel, and he was a chef at a restaurant down there. And so we must be off by the same time that evening, because of course, when we get off from our job, we didn't have to go back. But sometime when he got off, he might have to go back for, later on.
Okay.
But he didn't have to go back this day. So we were going to Myrtle Beach. We was all in a car going to Myrtle Beach, and we saw him. And one of the young lady that was in the car with us, she said, "Oh, that's go Solomon right there. So let's ask him to go with us because he's a nice young man."
Mm-hmm.
And so the car was already full, and I was the littlest one in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, "Louise, you can let him sit. You can sit on his lap." And so he came. So they called him. So you want to go? He said, "Sure." And so and so he came and he got in the car, and then so I had to sit on his lap because we went on to the beach, and then when we got to the beach, he left. He went his way, and we went our way, so we didn't see him anymore.
Oh, so he didn't even hang out with y'all?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, because we left, and then so the next thing when I saw the young lady who we all was in the car together, her name was Bessie.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister was another friend of ours, and she said, "Louisa, you know one thing? You know that young man you sit on his lap? So he told me to tell you, so he could tell you something." I said, "He did." So she said, "Yeah." And so I says, "Well, okay then. Well, let him tell me for himself."
Mm-hmm.
And then so anyway, we met, and then he started talking, and he seemed to be a nice young man. I could tell he was raised, been in a pretty good family. Could kind of tell somebody wasn't wild and out there in the street wild. And so anyway, so we started dating, and we went together. How long did we date? I don't know how long. Then one day he asked me to marry him. He says, "You know the reason why I want to marry you? Because you look just like one of my sisters."
Which one?
Margaret.
Margaret.
And so I says, "Okay." And so he did it for a long time. And so he went and so anyway, so he got to the place where he want to see me every night, and he wants. I said, "You know one thing, we can't live together." I says, I'll date you to doomsday, but we can't live together.
Mm-hmm.
And then so he agreed to that. So he said, well, he went and he got the marriage license and had all signed up and everything. And he took it back down there. Then we break up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, changed my mind. I know. I don't think we gotta be going to do
Why
this.
did you break up that time?
Because the girl he was going with another girl.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I didn't want to.
How'd you find out?
Somebody, the small town people talking. Anyway, so anyway, he denied that and all. Anyway, we went on and we got married.
Mm-hmm.
So that evening I got dressed. My first cousin, her name was Annie Mae.
Mm-hmm.
Her name was a whole lot of Annie Mae.
Uh-huh.
And so she come to my room where I was. I got dressed. I had the lady that I was working for. She gave me a blue dress belongs to her daughter.
Okay.
Just went off.
Still going. Oh, it just dimmed, but it's fine. Oh, because this came up. I don't want that anymore. Oops.
And so anime
So she gave the lady gave you a dress that belonged to her daughter, a blue dress.
A blue dress, yeah. Mm-hmm. A blue dress with kind of split tail, a little tail, fishtail back dress, cute little dress. Then I bought me a pink hat.
Mm-hmm. And, you have pictures from that? No.
No, all the pictures I don't know. It just and so I got my cousin helped me get ready to go, and I was saying, oh, I wonder if he's gonna he probably gonna stick me up. I thought he wasn't gonna show up, you know. And so I live on the second floor, and I was looking out the window, you know, and then because a long time I just know, and then when I look out the window, day I see him coming, and so he came on and he got me, and he got a cab. We went over on to Conway. We got married, and he looked some sharp coming because he had on some. I had good. Your granddaddy was a good-looking man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and the girls but I won him. And
that's so nice.
And so we went on and we got married, and we got back, and I was living at about 2-3% of family living in that house, and then when I got back, they had something like a little
reception
for us,
and
then we went on. I mean, after that, we went on to the room, and that's where we was at. Mm-hmm. And my period was on, and it was surprised. So
wasn't mad.
Wasn't gonna happen. No honeymoon there. Yeah, and so that was it. That's how we got married.
Oh. Now, you didn't tell your parents?
Nope, I didn't tell Mama them nothing.
Why?
No, because I was afraid he might disappoint me.
Yeah.
And when we went home, I had to carry my marriage license in order for him to stay in that house, with me. And I took my marriage license and showed Mama and Daddy, and they loved him. They really did. Yeah, they loved him so well.
And they weren't mad at you for doing it without talking to them?
No, they weren't married. I mean, they wasn't angry with me at all. I guess they were glad I had somebody, but somebody married me. But no, they wasn't, and they really did love Sullivan. And then so we spent the night, and then we got the bus and went back over to Myrtle Beach. Mm-hmm. And then anyway, when we did, and he told me, he says, you know what? And he wanted children. He said, you know what? If you can't have babies, I'm gonna leave you. Mm-hmm. I want babies. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, we married for a long time before I got pregnant with Ulysses.
It took a long time?
Yeah, yeah. I know we married over a year.
Oh, okay.
Know. That was long for me.
Sure.
And and so we had a big laugh whenever we leaving. Mama said, yes, Mama being proper. Yes. And you must came back again here to see us. Mm-hmm. And when Mama said, I thought I'd crack my side. You already going, and I had turned back. I said, Mama, you weren't supposed to say came at that time. Mama said, I know you were supposed to say, but I didn't know when. Lord, I laughed so that day. I guess you wonder why I went back in the house, but I went back and tell Mama you wasn't supposed to say came. And so she said, well, I knew I could say it, but I didn't know when. I said, well, okay. Yeah, and anyway, we went on.
Now, how did his family greet you? Because did his family know he was doing it?
No, because his family lived in Green, but they didn't know. And after I was pregnant with Ulysses, whenever he took me to his family.
Wow.
Yeah, I was pregnant
it's
at
like
that
it's
time.
silent now.
Yeah, and so we went to his family, and how did we get there? a car. That he drove a car there. I forgot now. That's how we got there. And then, when because we went by a little pond that he used to go fishing out of, you know. And then the water was clean. It was clear water and all. And when we got there, he let me wash my face, you know, got to get freshened up, you know, before we got to his family house. They live out into the country, beautiful place, but out into the country. When I went there, his mother, Miss Dot, I guess I don't know how well she received me, but she seemed to be, I don't know whether she was too happy or not. But she, I know the only thing she said, the only thing about she got some pretty hair. That's what all she said. You know, that's one thing I remember she saying. And then, but his daddy was he called me Minnie. Yeah, he says, so they're gonna go to the store to get some things, for us to snack on and to eat around the house. So he said, when you go, make sure you get Minnie some milk, because I was skinny. Get Minnie some milk. And so, and so we stayed there, overnight for a few days, and then we come on back to Myrtle Beach. But they were nice. And Tiny Bella, that's his sister-in-law, Tiny. Tiny was a teacher. When we got there, she went to school. Teach. They lived next door, kind of a little distant, but they call it next door. And Tiny, and when Tiny came home that evening, I was there, and she was just like a sister to me, Tiny Bell, and she was Charlton's wife. You never met Charlton.
Yeah, no.
You never need to see none.
Never met Charlton.
None of the children, none of his brothers.
Not that I can remember. No, none of them that I can recall.
And Marla's the only sister. You never met her. In her prime.
No, but I remember her for many. Like I remember Aunt Margaret because I always remember her asking me, "Do I know who she was?"
Really?
She always called my name Tacola, and she said, "You know who I am." I remember her, and I remember her before she got to the point where she was, dementia, all that. Right. I knew her before then. I remember that.
Right.
But I just never really understood who she was.
Yeah.
Like where she was in the family.
That's your granddaddy's sister.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I think I always thought she was your sister or somebody, something like that.
And Tiny Bell, when she come that first time, she saw me too, and she was very nice. She was just like my sister. She was we married to two brothers, but she was just like a sister to me too. Down there while we've been down there, and she would take me. Yeah, she took me out, several times while we were there, and then we got to come on back to Myrtle Beach, and everything was going well, and of course, when me and this was before we got married. Then the place you call the Hill, we all used to go over there, having fun and all like that. And he was there too. But this girl, her name was Irene, and she was crazy about him too. And that was before, I should have said this before we got married. And then, and so, I was at the Hill, and he got off from work, and he knew where to come, because he knew I would be there. And then, so, and he disappeared. So somebody tell me, said, he and Irene ran over to, I forgot this other place, but a little farther away, and they went to this other place, and then somebody told me, how people can tell you things. And I got, somebody took me over there. When I took over there, he and her been over there. And I jumped on her and started fighting her.
Oh, no.
And my hair was really long, and she grabbed my hair. You know how the girls can pull your hair, And I mean, she was heavy.
Oh,
she was tall and heavy, much heavier than what I was. And honey, and you know one thing, and he watched her hit, pulling my hair, and you know what, he grabbed her. Over, and that's the first time I ever fight a girl.
Tiny fighting on somebody.
Fight over somebody. That's all.
So what? So did he? What did he want with her? What did he say?
You know how men are. I guess he just so sure of me, and he knew I was over there.
Right.
But I thought he went home, but no, he went over to
Mm-hmm.
what you call the place? I can't remember his place's name. Yeah, over with her, and somebody told me that's where they were.
That is so funny.
Yeah,
He got in trouble.
Yes, and then we got home, and then we had our ups and downs too sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get angry and take all. I'm going back when Ulysses was already born then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back to Mama, and I would take down everything out the house, the curtain, and everything out the house, the picture all off the wall. I'm going back to Mama. I'm going back to my mama. And I would and would stay down for a few days. Then he would put it back up.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it so often too. He would not put it. He says, he said, I see you going. You must ain't got no place to go. I said, no, this is my home and I ain't going nowhere.
That's right.
This is my house. I ain't going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But he wouldn't put it back up the last time, so I had to put it back up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's when we had our little snap. And so he took and another time we had a little snap was when because I was hot-headed. I don't like to take nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at this was before we got married too, or either we just had gotten married, we newlywed.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to get off to work around about 10 o'clock, but I would go up on the hill and he would meet me up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so this Saturday night I went up to the hill and he come in. Then he was ready to leave, and he said, "Come on, Phoebe." He used to call me Phoebe. Phoebe, come on, let's go home. I said, "I ain't going home."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I'm gonna stay out here. If I wasn't out here, you would have been out here before, longer than now."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, okay, if you don't come on home, when you get home, I'm gonna fix you." And so I said, "Well, that's to be. I ain't coming home." And then I stayed there as long as I want to.
Mm-hmm.
I guess about 12 o'clock or later.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up. The police station wasn't too far from the house there, from our house. And I walked to the police, took my shoes off and walked to the police station and told the policeman, "Y'all got to take me home because my husband told me if I come home, he's going to fix me." And I said, "Now y'all going to have to take me home." And they took me home. And then they went in and they talked to him, tell him, he better not do anything to me. And they talked to him. So I went in there and everything was much calm and cooler, so that wasn't no more. We didn't have that anymore. And after Ulysses was born, he made me mad one time. And I took Ulysses home and left Ulysses there with Mama, for Mom and Dad. They took him to Georgetown and left him there with Mama. Kept it. Ulysses was a pretty baby.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pretty baby. Everybody come past and want to see the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And Mama, he must have been there for a week. And I had to leave him too. I wouldn't go back to where I went to stay with one of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, "Phoebe, you have to if you don't come back to me, you can't stay on Myrtle Beach. Me and you can't stay on Myrtle Beach together, separate." And I went and I told Daddy what he said. Daddy said, "You tell him I said, if he don't know what he's doing, he better ask somebody." He better ask somebody. Yeah, that's what I took Ulysses over with Mama then. And that's what Daddy said. Tell him if he don't know what he's doing. I said, "Dad, he got a gun." And he did. He had sitting down with a gun across his lap. And if you go at that door, the knife. But you know one thing? I was like the devil. I went out the door. I went out. I went out. Yeah, and he didn't do nothing to me. So anyway, when I come back, I took Ulysses and I went home and took Ulysses to Mom and Daddy. And then he'd been there for a few days, and he called me, Phoebe. That's when he told me if I wasn't coming back to him, I couldn't stay on Myrtle Beach because Myrtle Beach wasn't big enough for me and him to stay.
Oh my goodness.
So, and he said, And you know one thing, Ulysses got burnt. Somebody told me Ulysses got burnt. That's what he told me. I said, he did. I said, wonder why Mama didn't let me know that. And so he said, come on, we got to go down there and see about him. He just tell that last week. And then when we got there, I said, Ulysses, this is pretty as you want to be. Nothing wrong with my baby. And I said, Mama, and I didn't tell Mom because I didn't want Mama to feel bad, about that. And so anyway, we got Ulysses and we got back. So after that, we learned how to act like normal people. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we had an officer down there for a while too.
You remember when his birthday was?
January the...
Oh, Lord. January?
It's in January. The 24th, I believe.
Really?
No, I think January the 24th. I believe
that is so funny.
It's January, I'm quite sure.
Elijah's January 23rd.
I think it's the 24th. And he died in he died in February. I know that for sure. His birthday, he just turned 30. Was it 30?
33.
Yeah, and at that, because he was, that was a time, I'm telling you, that was a time. Yeah, so we stayed with his mom. He got sick, so, because he used to have seizures. That's what I wanted about you, because when you used to have seizures, I know he used to have seizures. And then we moved, Charlton come and come to Myrtle Beach and got us, and we move our mama, we give Mom and Daddy the furniture, my furniture. We had some nice furniture. He brought me a beautiful bedroom set. And we had a nice little living room set. Our living room was kind of small. Had a little 3-piece living room set. But that bedroom set was really, really nice. And
how often would he have a seizure? How often would he have a seizure? Like once a week or once a day? Once a month?
Well, one time, one Saturday, he had it. Like all through the night he was having it. That's when we decided. I went to Mom, went on down to Mama, and then while we were down there, we didn't have no telephone at that time. He didn't have none either. Either his people in Greenville didn't have none. And so we got in touch with his people by writing. And Charlton came and got us. And that's when we moved up to,
Honey Path?
Yeah, right. And we stayed with his mom. And then he started being okay. Because he got a little job at the airport. And then that's when I leave, and I got pregnant with Bernard. And that's when I leave Honey Path to go home to have Bernard. I want to go, because Honey Path was out into the country, and I wanted to be so very near with the hospital, would be at. And that's when.
Where did you have Uncle C? At Honey Path?
On Myrtle Beach.
Oh, Myrtle Beach. And then where did you have Uncle... Oh, then Daddy. Then Uncle Derek?
Yeah.
Where did you have Daddy? At your family house?
Yeah,
And then where did you have Uncle Derek?
Right here in Baltimore.
Oh, okay, in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Derek was born in Providence Hospital.
Oh, okay.
And Wendell. Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were born in right here. Both of them born in South Carolina, and both of them born in Maryland. And
so you went from Honey Path to Georgetown.
No.
To have the baby.
To have the baby. Yeah, to have Bernard.
And he stayed there, and he was he doing better? Like he wasn't having as many seizures?
He wasn't having many seizures. But and then when Bernard was Oh, Bernal must have been about 2 or 3. Bernal was still a little young baby. I can't remember now just how old he was, but he was still a little young baby. And he and Charlton came and took us back to Honey Path. And then we stayed there. Then he had a seizure. I think anyway. Margaret and those are decide that they would bring him up here because they were saying Johns Hopkins supposed to be one of the best hospitals it was. So we came here.
So Aunt Margaret, Uncle Harold,
and Mary, they came and got us up.
Okay.
Yeah, and our and because I remember first we go decide that just going to let him come up here. You know, to the doctors, and then we come later. And Mark said no, because our Margaret's husband was working to the bank at that time, and it was in December. That next week they was going to have their Christmas party. And Mark said, no, God, I'm going to that Christmas party next week, and I don't want nothing on my mind. And so and so we all come up here on the train. Not me, but they took him back in the car because they would trust him to come on the train so he didn't have a seizure. And so me and Margaret and my 2 boys came on the train.
Oh, okay.
And then on the train. And so we come here, and we first stay with Harold, and then Harold Samuel had a beautiful home. Yes, you really didn't get to meet them. Beautiful home. And me and the 2 boys stayed with Harold for a while. And Bernard P. and me wasn't used to their flows shining, all them beautiful flows. And I took off Bernard P. up diaper.
Oh no!
And put it on the floor. And the next moment I went to take the diaper up, and take the whole all that shellac off the floor.
Wow!
I was so scared, you know, from the country.
Yeah.
Wasn't used to that. Scared girl. Oh Lord.
So what'd you do?
They had a throw rug. They had a throw rug in the room. You know, I had a piece.
And they just put it over.
I took the rug and
I put it over. Did.
So I don't know when Sam Ellis saw it. I don't know what she said. I never heard no more about it. Yeah. And then we we got and a house on McCullough Street. Margaret, it was a two apartment house.
Duplex.
I mean, the 3rd floor, the 2nd floor, and the 1st floor. But the second and the first floor was for rent. So Margaret took the 2nd floor, and me and Solomon and my 2 sons took the 1st floor. And that's where we was, and we stayed there for ever so long. And then I got pregnant, and we got Derek. Derek was born over there, and then and we've been there, and so this Saturday, he came from work, and he had them boys, you know, playing with them boys like a horse, and they riding, you know. He had a good time all over the kitchen floor, and I had some pork chops and some for dinner. I remember that, and I told him pork chop. He said, I didn't want no pork chop. I said, but Dan liked pork chop. That Molly's husband, like her name, his name was Dan. He said, but I ain't Dan. I don't want I don't want that. You know, this thing is off, you know.
No.
It's been off for a while.
It's still doing.
And
yep, still rolling.
And so and he just played with them, and then we rehearsed our marriage and our courting days all over that same evening, you know.
Oh, why? Why?
What
when you say rehearse?
We went over, you know. He said, you just married me because you thought I had some money. I said, man, you ain't had no money. You know what he used to do?
What?
Used to have the money and have it roll up, you know, in paper, you know, and have a few dollars over there. And he said, I married you. I said, you married me because you told me I look like one of your sisters. And then he said, oh, I didn't tell you that. I said, yes, you did tell me that. And anyway, we just rehearsed that was a goodie. We just had, good time rehearsing whatever. Our life all over again. Didn't know that was going to be the last time. Yeah. And so he said, I think I have to go out with Harold tonight, and I'll be back. And so I went to bed, and I put we had a layaway bed, a cot, like a cot bed for the two boys, and then and Derek had his crib, and I think it was sealed. Bernard went in the bed with me that night, and then and so he because we had Bernard, we had Derek too. But the one of them been in the bed with me that night, and he said, "Well, just let him stay in the bed with you, and I'm going to sleep I'll sleep on their cot." So he didn't come in the bed, but he slept on the cot that night. And so he said, "I think, TV, I'm gonna take you and my 3 sons to church tomorrow." That was Sunday on a Sunday. I said, "Well, Solomon," I said, "You know what you do? You take Ulysses and Bernard." I said, "But I'll let the baby stay here with me because his sweater is not clean. His sweater not clean." He said, "Well, I'm going to wash the sweater." And he did. He washed the sweater. And then, I don't know whether vent that you have been in the house with a vent. He'd come up in through the vent down on the floor. And he took the sweater and put it down by that vent for it to dry for that Sunday morning. So that Sunday morning I got up, and then 4 days he did have a little seizure. And I got up, and he was okay. And so that Sunday morning I got up and cooked breakfast and all, and I called him and he didn't answer. And then I went into the room. He was sleeping on the cot, on the rollaway bed. It was a rollaway bed, and I shake him, and he didn't move. And I felt his head up here, and up here his head was just as cold. And I shake him, and he still, and I said, "Oh," I said, "I believe Solomon is dead." And I ran upstairs to Margaret's up. I said, "Margaret, I believe Solomon is dead." So she said, "No, Weezy, he can't be dead. Maybe he just in a coma." And she could bring a glass mirror, and she put it to his face, and so she said, "Yeah, I believe he is." So we go call a doctor. When we called a doctor, the doctor came. They said, "Yeah, he must have been dead for a while there." Yeah, so that was that. That was a time. And then his mother, she used to come up and stay the winter months up there with her daughters. He was married, one of them, she'd take time to spend nights with each one of them. And then so she was supposed to leave and go back home on that Saturday. And she said no, she'll wait until that Monday. Now, a good thing she did, because if she did, the news would have get to her, to the home before she would have gotten there.
Oh, yeah.
Because she'd go back home on the train. And I'm telling you the truth, that she was there too when he died. And I'm telling you, that was a time.
What type of, what was their farm like? Did they have farm land? Did they work the land?
Cotton.
It was
they
cotton.
Had cotton. That's
wow.
Yeah, cotton. Cotton, yeah. And plenty of cows. Plenty, cows and cotton and all. It was a beautiful place. I just wish that y'all could have been more in touch with that side of the family. All of them were very dignified. Miss Dart thinks she was Queen Elizabeth. Miss Dart, she just knows she was just so polite and everything. It's just,
that's where I get it from.
Oh yeah, and Margaret and Katie, all of them. Because Margaret went to some kind of boarding school, but I don't think she never went to college. But Katie did, and Mary used to teach. She was a teacher. Mary was, and
what did Uncle Charlton do?
Charlton's wife, Tiny Bell, his wife, she was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And stayed and work on the farm and take care of him. And he had some kind of outside job. I forgot now kind of job that he had for a while, but he never really had no like, what is it, 8 to 4 in the day job. He just, because he did more on the farm and with them cows, yeah. And and then yeah, and he passed that Sunday morning here.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we discovered that he was gone. And then they are
Did he get buried back to Honey Path?
Yeah.
They took him down?
Yeah, they shipped his body back to Honey Path, and he had to stay in the house about a couple of days before they could marry. At that time, they put the dead people in the home, in the house, and he stayed there.
So they kept him in the house until the funerals?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had to take him to the church, And Ulysses go for Ulysses. That's my daddy. Ulysses come past and look at the coffin, That's my daddy. Because he was in the living room, and people coming in, and and we all in there. And Ulysses, a little boy, that's my daddy.
And then he was buried in the cemetery that's like Honey Path?
Honey Path, right? But like this cemetery was a church because with his daddy and his sister, because he got another sister, and then because he and his sister had pneumonia in the same time. What his sister's name was? I can't remember her name. She died when she was a little baby, a little girl, something like that. And also he got a brother died at birth in that cemetery too. And all the family, all the Sullivan family, that was still, Margaret, Harold, and Charlton. I think John buried with Tiny Bell. Tiny Bell buried at her church. She used to go to Prospect, but she never was a member there.
Oh, okay.
But her husband was a member, and all the family was a member. She would go there, but she and her mother was in another church.
Okay.
And,
so Charlton got buried at their church?
I think Charlton got buried with his wife back there.
She died before him?
Yeah.
How did she die?
Well, I forgot now. What was wrong with Tanya? I forgot. But she was really nice, so she was so good to me. She taught school there for many years. And I know she knew something wasn't working, and I was down there with them. And when she would get paid for, teaching school, she'd come and give me some money. She told me, just take it, don't say nothing to nobody about it, Yeah, and when she used to come home in the evening time from school, I used to be so glad to see her, because they called not too far from, their house wasn't too far from our house, and I could see her car coming in. I said, "Oh, Tiny coming," and no sooner she get home and get off her clothes, whatever she do, she coming up to the house, because sometimes it's dark, she'd be done cook dinner for everybody there, and she'd come up there and we'd eat. Then me and her would go into the cotton field, and I didn't know how to pick no cotton. Tiny Bell knew, because she was born and raised down there, she knew, but I didn't know. And the doctor was telling me, and I was pregnant with Bernard during that time too. But we used to come out that hot sun. It's too hot for you to be out there in that hot sun. Come on out that sun. And I'd be down being it. I'd pick a little bit of cotton. And Solomon, he could have picked, or he could pick much more than I could. And we just had fun. And Tiny Bell, just like the whole Solomon family was very good to me. And when I come here, I'm telling you, in Margaret, that was everybody thought we were sisters. She was the best. I mean, she was just somebody real close to me.
Was the land, the Prospect, was it on Sullivan land, or was it just next to it? Did they own that land too?
But they own a certain portion of the land, yeah. But a white man that owned portion of that land too.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's one thing that was done that really wasn't fair to be thought to the children, to Solomon children, you know, to my husband and my children, because whenever they sold the land got sold, but they did want the money, you know, they will save the money from his daughter to be buried with, you know, for her and all like that.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that. But them children were supposed to have some money too. But see what happened? Whenever they check came, from what they tell me, they turned the check over and let them sign. They never let them look at their name. They signed the check over.
Mm-hmm.
They never see how much it was. Like that. That's another thing that I think that was something Charlton doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I never thought was fair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Harold, he took care. Harold, he was the man in the money.
Mm-hmm.
Harold was in the money.
Mm-hmm.
You know why he was in the money?
Numbers.
He was in big money,
mm-hmm.
and he took care of us.
Mm-hmm.
He really did. Until I decided that, you know, I would rather, you know, as you get older, no, you just didn't. And anyway, you know what I did? I was getting Social Security for them too, you know. And then somebody told me about the welfare. I don't know nothing but no welfare, something like that. And I went there. I got a little bit from them, but not that long. No. So, and then I decided that when they got a little older, I decided I'll go get me a job, and that's what I did. Yeah, so we made it. Yeah.
I will continue at a later date.
Well, I wish. Well, you know one thing, man. You gotta cut